I suppose I should just throw in one more question about influences, which is a wider one. Is there anything else that you think influenced you, I suppose, in the other arts or in society and politics that you feel has fed into your work?
Oh yes, I mean there's lots of painters, like sort of Caravaggio, and lots of painters, and ballet. I was very influenced by ballet.
How do you think that's fed in terms of the choreographic?
It's really nice, sort of. I'm just very interested in the body moving, and I always recommend, or try to recommend, young directors to watch silent movies rather than imagining that they know what they're like, because people often imagine they're very sort of hieratic and false, and they're not. The bodies are fantastic, and then as soon as they discovered sound, all the actors freeze for sound, and before then there were most wonderful plastic performances by actors that were just wonderful.
That's extremely interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also very good for, to watch, I could go along. Cinema's not about close-ups. Cinema is about close-ups and body shots, and it's, again, about the actor moving. As Michael Powell says, the director's function is to move the actor within the shot, and the director's function on stage is one of the things you've got to do is get the actor on stage, and the other thing you've got to do is get them off again. And it sounds simple, and it really isn't, because it's that's sort of like an awful lot of it. And it just requires a lot of experience and judgment to do that. You find yourself sort of doing that better.
Which is also quite striking in a conversation about Shakespeare here in Britain, isn't it? Where historically there's been a sort of pride in the text.
The text is very misleading, because the text is, it goes about the text, and then you understand after a few years, I understood the text is merely something, not merely, but the text is something that's thrown up by the story. And then I realised after a while that the story is only something that's thrown up by the experience. So basically, the words and the story are, I would say, merely, actually, delivery systems for raw human experience. The problem is that the first thing that we start with is black shapes on white paper. And then from that, we have to work out what people are saying and not necessarily believe them, and not necessarily understand they're doing the whole truth, and not necessarily understanding that bringing our common sense, always we have to bring our common sense to know that people don't necessarily know what they're saying, or indeed why they're saying it. And how do you know what they're saying? Because it's judgment, and it takes years to sort of try and sort out what might really be happening. And then what you have to do is like a forensic. One of my favourite TV programmes, I blush to say, is Forensic Files. And in Forensic Files, you see these, it's always orange fibres or the blood somewhere, and you have to go back in time. So the detective has to go back in time and find out what was the thing that caused this. That's exactly what a text is, actually. You've got to go back and find out what caused these words to happen. And of course it is, it's all about, all we have is the text. But we have to find out what made the text.
So you're sort of mining backwards.
Or you have to go backwards to find out what is it that makes these words inevitable. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep going back to find out where did the words come from. I'm sorry to take up time about this, but it's very important, the big lie in the St. John, in the beginning was the word. That's completely untrue. Way before the word, there was breath and movement, and many, many other things happened. And when we say the play's all about the text, people can get very pious saying it's all about the text. I think, well, no, actually the text is something that's a symptom of various other things that have come beforehand. We have to respect the text. The text indeed is our only forensic evidence of the thing that makes it inevitable, makes it happen, makes it part of a human relationship. But it's where we start, and we have to apply our common sense to sort out where that might happen.
Yeah.